And please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. I hope you can all listen to me, hear me. Yeah, it's my pleasure today to moderate this session on the future of learning in Africa, technology, innovation, skills, and inclusive growth. And you know very well that is a very pertinent issue, especially for us in Africa, when we are still struggling as a continent, well below the global average in terms of gross enrollment ratio in terms of education, and in terms of the other challenges we have for quality and for improvement and to catch up with the rest of the world. This high policy dialogue is on future of learning in Africa, technology, innovation, and skills. We'll look at has got the following objectives: to review the current state of higher education, access, quality, innovation, and skills development across Africa, to explore policy levers for leveraging technology, innovation, and digital transformation to reshape higher education systems, focusing on governance, infrastructure, pedagogy, and partnerships. Align higher education and skills policies with evolving labor market demands, including digital jobs, entrepreneurship, green economy, and startup ecosystems, and promote inclusive growth and equity, ensuring women learners and learners with disabilities, rural population, and refugees are integrated into the future learning agenda. And I feel one of the most important objective is also to generate actionable policy recommendations across short-term, medium-term, and long-term horizons tailored for ministers, policymakers, and higher education stakeholders. So the panel composition, we have 3 members today. We have Ambassador Janeba Jagne. I hope I'm pronouncing the names properly. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, the Gambia. Dr. Ekwa Bentel, Senior Education Specialist, Education Global Practice, World Bank. And Mr. John Matogo from IBM. Let me first introduce all the speakers, and then we'll go one by one to them, asking them the questions for their intervention. We have Ambassador Janeba Jagne. Is a seasoned diplomat and academic from the Gambia, currently serving as Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. She holds an MA in Research Methods from Durham University and a certificate in Global Diplomacy from SOS University of London. Her distinguished career includes serving as ambassador to India, Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar, and later as permanent representative to Ethiopia, Kenya, African Union, and the UN Economic Commission for Africa. She has chaired and co-chaired several high-level African Union bodies, including Peace and Security Councils and African Platform on Children Affected by Armed Conflict. Ambassador Jagne was the first female director of research in the Gambia Ministry of Higher Education, where she pioneered national research initiatives and international collaboration. She has published award-winning research in cross-cultural interface design and previously lectured at the Middlesex University. In recognition of her contribution to gender equality and peace, she was conferred a Fellow of the International Academy for Gender and Peace. The second speaker will be Dr. Ekwa Bentel, Senior Education Specialist, Education Global Practice, World Bank. She's a Senior Education Specialist at the World Bank, where she leads tech work and focuses on leveraging technology, including AI and digital innovation, to improve education. She provides thought leadership and support on higher education, skills and workforce development, STEM education, and advancing women's participation in these areas across various regions. Since she joined the bank in 2015, she has co-developed the education strategy for Western and Central Africa 2022, led major initiatives such as Africa Center of Excellence program in the Western and Central Africa, which strengthens postgraduate education and research across various priority sectors. She previously served as the World Bank Global Gender Lead for Education and as the Africa Region's focal point for digital skills under the World Bank Digital Economy for Africa initiative. Ekwa holds a PhD in electrical engineering from Princeton University and a dual bachelor's degree in physics, Bryn Mawr College, and electrical engineering, Caltech. Prior to the World Bank, she worked as a market research moderator at Goldman Sachs. And we have the third speaker, Mr. John Matogo. He's a corporate social responsibility leader for Africa and the Middle East at IBM, a role he has held since joining the company in September 2014. In this capacity, he leads IBM's social impact programs across Middle East and Africa, focusing on skilling learners, promoting volunteerism, and advancing sustainability through partnership with academia, government, non-profits, and private sector entities. He has been instrumental in forging collaborations with numerous higher education institutions, with ministries of education across the region, resulting in over 3,000 certifications and more than 50,000 students and faculty trained in emerging technologies such as cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and cyber security. We are going to start with the first speaker, and we have 3 questions lined up for each speaker, but we don't know whether we'll be able to address all the 3 questions, but we'll see how we proceed with time. But what we're going to do is we start with 1 question for each speaker, allow them around 8 minutes for each answer, and then proceed with the second question. And we expect to take around 80 minutes for these sessions, and then we'll allow time for observations and questions and answers at the end. So, Ambassador, welcome you to this session on high-level policy dialogue. I wish to start with a question for you. The first question is,
Prof. Varma, just excuse, Janeba has just dropped, so maybe you can start with Dr. Ekwa, and then John has also connected, then Janeba will come in as third. Thank you. Okay, so let's start with Ekwa. It's okay. It happens when we are online and all. So Dr. Ekwa Bentil, the first question we wish you to address for us is, what are the major barriers to scaling digital and innovation-led higher education, and what policy or investment priorities are being advanced to address these challenges? For example, infrastructure, faculty capacity, financing, regulatory framework, and so on. So it's over to you with this first question, Dr. Ekwa.
Thank you so much for the invitation to AAU, and happy to be here. Thank you, Dr. Varma, for the question. So one of the things that I would like to start off is at the World Bank, we are currently developing a report titled Digital Skills for Africa. And it has a couple of objectives, and questions that we are asking. The first is, why is digital technology important for the continent? And, this question addresses 2 things for the continent. So one, it's there to ensure that there's access, right? It supports access across areas where in the past access to higher education or just education in general is low. It helps to scale When you look at the continent, we know that the numbers, when we look at numbers in our higher education sector, it's quite low compared to other regions, around 9% in terms of gross enrollment rate. It also helps accelerate training, right? When we look at the continent, we know that a lot of times compared to other regions, there are certain programs where we're falling behind. And so, particularly in the digital space, and so there's an opportunity for us to scale. Data technologies also help us improve quality of education. So that's one bucket where we know the use of digital technologies are there to help us improve scale, to accelerate, improve quality, improve access. The second aspect to that, in the use of digital technologies, we are preparing a future-ready workforce, right? And this is critical because, as Dr. Sylvia indicated earlier, in our current world where we have digital technologies and particularly AI accelerating, whether we like it or not, it's important that the generation that is being trained is fully equipped for this type of workforce. So the idea is, as we're using digital technologies to do all of those things that I mentioned earlier, the idea is that it will also help as the students use these technologies and are trained in certain fields related to these technologies, it will help them actually prepare for the future workforce. And so as part of this report, we looked at data, we did surveys to get firsthand data. We surveyed 174 universities across Africa. And then in addition, we also surveyed ministries of education to understand some of their thinking around the use of digital technologies and training. And then we also comes along with preparing the youth for the future. But when we dig deeper, we realize that only about 31% offer courses like AI and about 34% some courses in data science and so on. The second challenge that we also realized was how many students are being trained in some of these, advanced digital technologies fields for the continent. And based on some of the calculations that we did, when we look at the higher education sector, we realized that only about 70,000 or so annual graduates are coming out of the universities focused on these core areas. What does that mean for the continent? The continent needs roughly about 3 million workforce in these fields by 2030. And looking at the rate at which the continent is going, it's going to take about 40 years for us to get there. And bear with me, in this report, we did not look at what the private sector side was doing, right? We are aware that, of course, there are some training programs often by certain private sector organizations, for example, Andela, right, where they take young people and they train them in some of these advanced digital skills. Here we are focusing on what is the, if you look at the higher education sector itself on the continent, what is it doing? And compare this to China, which is training about 4 million annually in STEM programs, right? And that's just China. And then we looked at institutional capacity in terms of connectivity, right? Whether you are using the connectivity for basic digital skills training across the board in the universities or for advanced training, we realized that only 13% of surveyed institutions met the 1 gigabyte per second connectivity standard. And that's the basic, right? When we looked at the labs, we asked questions about labs. The university said, about 100% of them said, yes, we have basic computer labs, which is great. But we didn't go to details to see exactly the state of those labs, right? But we realized that less than 20% of the institutions were offering AI or data science related type programs. And then when we look at the faculty student ratio, and these numbers I'm about to state, they're reasonably okay, but compared to the OECD countries, there's a lot of ways we have to go. The student faculty ratio is about 45-1 compared to 16-1 in some of these OECD countries. So just based on some of these numbers, we can see that, the continent has a ways to go. And we also are aware that when it comes to the faculty capacity, you cannot pour, something out of an empty jar, right? So when we look at our faculty, it's important to look at the capacity of faculty to teach in a digital age. And there are a couple of things. So being able to do digital pedagogy that is used in digital technologies to teach well is one bucket, but also looking at the number of faculty that have experience to teach the current generation these advanced digital skills. There's still a lag there where we know it's important to build a pipeline of faculty to teach some of these programs. And then, of course, financing, right? When it comes to financing, we all know that it's always a strain, and digital technologies are not cheap. I know in terms of where I sit at the World Bank, the global unit leading our EdTech work, we work with several organizations that a lot of the times they come up and say, okay, we are developing these technologies for low resource environments where, connectivity is low or, electricity is non-existent and so on. But there are limitations to some of these offline products, right? So it's important that we put our money where our mouth is and really invest in the digital infrastructure on the continent. So in terms of the policy priorities, definitely the number of female students that were in some of these advanced training programs, only 26% of female students were in engineering and AI programs. So there is a lot of work to do there to ensure that in terms of policy, that within university, these are gender responsive, ensuring that they have enough female faculty, as well as students that are attracted into some of these programs. So I think I'll stop there in terms of some of my initial comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ekwa. I think it was very informative in terms of what you're doing and where you want to be heading for Africa. Before we proceed, can I know if the next speaker is available, Dr. Ambassador, or we can proceed with
I think
Dr.
we'll proceed with Mutogo, Dr. John
Okay.
Mutogo.
Okay, let's proceed with Dr. John Mutogo. We did introduce him. Dr. John Mutogo, welcome to this session. And you're from IBM. Like we are using the formula, I'll ask you a question. There are 3 questions lined up for you, but I don't know how much we'll be able to ask, but the speakers are not there, we'll have more time to talk. No problem. We'll give you around 8 to 10 minutes to respond to this first question, which is, from your experience, which technology-enabled learning models in higher education or skills have proven scalable and effective in Africa, and what policy and regulatory conditions were critical to their success. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Varma. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Carry on.
Okay, and I apologize. I actually am attending another conference and stepped out for this to participate in this particular panel. So
Thank
usually
you.
I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, but move around the continent. Right now, I'm actually in Cape Town in South Africa. So first of all, allow me to just express my thanks to the AAU for inviting me to participate in this panel dialogue, and also to Dr. Sylvia for considering me for this session, and to congratulate and wish all the academics present, as we're celebrating the African Universities Day. Fairly quickly, to respond to the question that you asked me, Professor Varma, I would like first of all to set the stage on where we are. Coming from the private sector, IBM is a technology company. We're a global technology company. So I think what that gives us is a good opportunity or a vantage point to look at, let's say, the labor markets and to see how the shifts are being influenced by the technology changes that we are all experiencing globally. And that would sort of give me the position to answer the question that you've raised to me. So as you mentioned in the introductory statements, I've been involved in running skilling initiatives for about the last 10 years and working closely with universities and academia across the region. Recently, just to sort of set the stage, there were some reports that came out. Maybe some of you may have. I'd just like to highlight a few things from this report. So there was a recent report. This is I'm talking about in the last 2 months or so. There's the Canaries in the Coal Mine report. This was coming from Stanford University. And then we also have another report from the Burning Glass Institute, which is No Country for Young Grads. Okay. And what basically this is talking about are the shifts that we are observing in the labor markets. So just to give you some statistics, just to set the stage, we're seeing that a huge percentage of the entry level roles, many of which our new graduates will be looking to when they join the job market, 92% of this are actually facing a significant transformation. A lot of the jobs are now being impacted by artificial intelligence. I believe a previous panelist alluded to that. There is a need for AI noticing significant skills gaps from those who are joining the workforce. 78% of the ICT roles are actually now requiring artificial intelligence, and 7 out of the 10 fastest growing roles are actually artificial intelligence related or influenced in some way, which sort of drive what I've been involved in. So I run a platform, IBM Skills Build, which is primarily an educational technology platform that enables online learning and continuous learning for who are in college and academia, even those who are respond based in promoting skills across the region with a number of partners and people who are present in the audience. So, like skills building, there are a number of other online, MOOCs that are out there that allow learners to access the alternative do not evolve as fast as we see the technology or the shift that we just talked about in the workplace. And I think this would for collaboration between these MOOC providers, so like IBM Skills Build, and the academic collaborate in developing these skills that are in demand in the workforce. When you look at what has been successful in our context, a lot of the learners are mobile first, experience technology mobile first. So making these learning platforms available in a mobile context and greater access for these learners. One thing that from our experience, and this is just to touch on the number that you talked about, I mean, yearly we train hundreds of thousands of learners. What we have seen has been a successful model is a combination of online facilitated session. And the reason, yes, that it was acted upon by the learner at scale, and also with the facilitated sessions, the learners get the opportunity to interact with subject matter experts in this particular field that, again, as we've said, are actually very fast evolving. So you're engaging with those who are involved in actually developing this technology. The other thing I would mention that has been instrumental in the scaling of these initiatives is collaboration with local actors or local partners that have a clear understanding of the context. So to give an example, across the region, there are national programs that are involved in skilling. We've got our local academic partners or TVET institutions that are running academic programs. So when we complement these initiatives with offerings like IBM Skills Build, then we realize, one, we are able to bring in the new and emerging technologies into the current program that these partners are actually delivering. And because they already have an awareness and understanding of how this would reach the local context and how to deliver it, then we have a formula that allows, in terms of the policy or regulatory conditions that have enabled this, I would have to say that the collaborative nature and openness to from the local governments, from the academic partners, to work together with partners like ourselves to grow this kind of skilling program has been instrumental in enabling this. We have the opportunity, and maybe this is one that
Thank you very much for joining. I understand you are being very busy and taken up as well. So we will start with the first question, and then we will give you around 8 minutes to respond to this first question, and then we'll come to the other speakers and then come back to you afterwards. So for you, the first question I have, what specific policy reforms is your country implementing to shift higher education from access to relevance and employability? And how are these reforms addressing the education, employment? And nice to hear what you are doing and what you plan to do. Ambassador, it's over to you.
Okay, so thank you very much. And to all of you, please do accept my sincere apologies. Who would have thought that 5 years after we have started doing hybrid meetings that, we'll still be experiencing technical problem. So my sincere apologies for logging in this late. But nonetheless, I'm here. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for wanting the perspective of what we're doing in the Gambia. So what we're doing is implementing several targeted higher education reforms to shift the system from focusing primarily on access towards relevance, employability, and productivity, particularly as you've asked us to address in the concept note and the questions that you sent us, to those that are not in education, employment, or training amongst our youth. So some of these reforms include expanding on TVET, technical and vocational education training in the Gambia. We're prioritizing this across all of our regions in the country to widen access to practical and market-oriented skills. We also have the establishment of the University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, which further strengthens applied learning in priority areas. And those that have been following what has been happening with the Gambia and AAU will know the role that they have played in the establishment of the University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology. So let me just also use this opportunity to thank all of those that were part of the process for their support in ensuring that it was established successfully. So now we're to the implementation of the activities and programs for USET, as we call it. Another area that my ministry is looking at is ensuring that at least 65% of our scholarships, 65% is invested in scholarships and infrastructural investment. We have intentionally directed towards science, engineering, and technology. Scholarships that we give are focusing on health and on medicine, and also on our agricultural programs aligned with the new National Development Program, and also on our labor market demands as well. We have a competency-based national qualifications framework, which we're also implementing to standardize skills, enhance quality, and strengthen collaboration between industry and academic institutions. Another area that we're trying to institutionalize within our higher education programs across all of our tertiary and higher education institutions, and expanding on practice-based learning opportunities as well, such as internships and industrial placements. Currently, we're trying to work with ECOWAS to focus on these internships and industrial placements as well, in addition to working with our own local sector here. So sector-based advisory committees from the private sector are helping to align the curricula with the evolving labor market needs of the country. So we're working across several platforms to ensure that we address need. And finally, also tomorrow, actually, we will be launching some financing mechanisms that we have put in place. And these include the Student Revolving Loan Scheme, the Tertiary and Higher Education Trust Fund, and also the National Research and Innovation Fund. We are institutionalizing these two funds and the scheme to support access to research and development as well. So together all of these reforms are designed to reduce unemployment and enhance the workforce readiness and ensure that higher education contributes more directly to our national focusing on those not in employment.
Thank you, Mahida. It appears that you have putting emphasis on scholarships, science, on national framework,
makers from time to time is some of the problems and most of the problems that the continent was dealing with, the past few years when AI wasn't a big deal. Those problems are not going to go away if, we don't deal with them head on, particularly in the face of AI, which is moving very fast, right? And so the challenges on what we're doing with energy, power, the challenges on what we're doing with connectivity, the challenges of faculty capacity in terms of digital, their own digital competencies, right? When it comes to devices and access to labs in our schools. Those challenges, we still need to deal with them head on within space. That, and my co-panelists mentioned this, when it comes to even the accreditation systems, right? I know, when I worked on the ACE project for over 10 years, that there had to be a way of adapting quickly. And now it's just even more important so now than ever, right? So I just want to state that, yes, in terms of structuring the education systems to align with the direction of the globe, fundamental challenges that the continent. Thankful that Ambassador Janeba mentioned some of the work that is happening in the Gambia. Those are very key. In terms of the report that I mentioned in my first response, there are, we have a framework developed, and so we put digital skills into 3 buckets. And I'm going to try and talk about that a little. Access level training, what we are seeing within this framework is that, can pick up in terms of the access bits on the phone. What we are saying is that it's critical that governments start investing heavily on the boost level skills that are task-based. How do students use Excel extensively using PowerPoint presentations, and level digital skills is part and parcels of the students' work, having it incorporated into the curriculum. And then we have the third bucket, which we call the create. What we are saying here is that the continent cannot continue to just stick to being a consumer of digital technologies. It needs to also get to the stage where it can create using digital technologies. And to do that, the advanced digital skills is critical. We are saying framework in this report that we're about to release is that